The energy of the living earth wants to rise through you, but your body is blocking the way. It's not about a lack of faith or effort. It's that something in you stopped yielding, as if the force meant to sustain your expansion had been silenced, forgotten, buried. But it's still there, sleeping at the foundation of your body, hidden among muscles you never learned to feel, stored in a language you stopped listening to. And this language isn't made of words. It pulses, slow, primal, almost mineral. It is the breath of the elemental earth trying to move through you from within, not as a metaphor, but as a biological and spiritual reality. A vibrational current that rises through the sacral bone, spirals through the pelvis, and awakens everything you've tried to keep under control. Creativity, presence, power, direction. But as long as your base remains numb, your life will continue to float without roots. You may seek in the heavens, in books, in techniques, but what you're missing isn't above, it's below, beneath the mind, beneath the navel, in the forgotten foundation where instinct still breathes. And in this video, you will reconnect with that foundation, not just through ideas, but through the body, not just with faith, but with living presence. The living earth still wants to rise through you, and there is only one path for that to happen: to descend to the exact point you stopped inhabiting. You were taught to search for the divine in the heights, in the sky, in what lies above, but there is an older mystery, quieter, more urgent, buried in the most forgotten part of your body. The pelvis is not just an anatomical structure, it is an altar, a vessel of memories, instincts, and powers that can't be accessed through thought. There, at the base of the body, lives a code most were never taught to decipher, because no logic can translate it, no doctrine can replace it. It must be listened to through flesh, through the ground beneath you, through what pulses behind words. Here is the secret. The living earth never stopped speaking to you. You were the one who stopped breathing where it enters. While you try to rise spiritually through theories, it waits at the very point where you disconnected. The belly, the hips, the sacrum, the forgotten gateway between body and planet. And when that gateway opens, what rises within you is not imagination. It is primordial energy. You feel more strength, more direction, more presence. Not because you've understood something new, but because you reactivated what was always there. This practice is not new, but it has been distorted, hidden, discredited. The mystery schools called it the telluric breath. In the Kaula tradition, it was the point where Shakti lies dormant. Thoth, the scribe of the gods, said that wisdom can only be born in those who descend into the depths of matter. Only those who touch their inner ground can lift the veils of the invisible. The promise is clear. If you unlock the breath at your foundation, your body becomes a channel. Your intuition will sharpen. Your energy will stabilize. Your manifestations will take root. It's not a mental trick. It's a vibrational reconnection with the living earth within you. And that reconnection begins with an ancestral gesture, letting the pelvis breathe. In ancient times, the sacred wasn't sought in the sky. It was felt on the skin, in the bones, in the ground beneath. The ancients didn't see themselves as separate from the living earth. They breathed it in. In every ritual gesture, in every tribal dance, there was a silent recognition. The body was the first temple. And the womb, the sacred center, where spirit descended to inhabit matter. There was no hierarchy between the physical and the subtle. There was union, a cycle, a spiral that rose not from above to below, but from the ground inward. In the Kaula wisdom of ancient Tantra, Svadhisthana wasn't just a chakra, it was the inner ocean. There, Shakti, the creative force lay dormant, waiting to be touched by conscious breath. That touch wasn't mental, it was vibrational. When breath is anchored in the pelvis, it doesn't just bring oxygen, it awakens forgotten power. Thoth, in Egypt, didn't teach words alone, he taught frequencies. Hermetic wisdom said that everything is vibration, and that the outer world is shaped by the energy that radiates from the center. But what center is that, if not the place where being anchors into the body, into the living earth, into tangible reality? The logos, the creative word, according to Thoth, isn't born in the mind, but in the alignment between body, breath, and purpose. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia called the invisible channel connecting humans to the spirit of the earth the dreamline. And that channel could only be activated when the body moved in reverence to the ground. It wasn't religion, it was remembrance. Remembrance that power isn't up above, it lives in the root. Remembrance that true awakening doesn't begin with thought, it begins with a return. A return to the belly, to the pelvis, to the vibrational field where the living earth breathes through you. This is the wisdom the modern world forgot, yet it still pulses quietly in the body of those who dare to descend. And though all this may seem too symbolic, too ethereal, there is more science here than you might imagine. The base of the body, the pelvic region, perineum and sacrum, is directly linked to what's known as the neurological core, where vital structures of the nervous system are organized. It's there that the vagus nerve, which regulates emotions, digestion, and internal states of safety, meets key activation points. Studies published in recent years show that deep, slow breathing from the base of the abdomen can stimulate the ventral branch of the vagus nerve, triggering states of presence, focus, and emotional healing. In other words, the deeper and more grounded your breathing pattern, the greater your ability to access higher states of consciousness. Bioenergetics, developed by Alexander Lowen, had already stated that chronic contraction of the pelvis suppresses not only emotions, but the very vitality of being. Likewise, psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk proved that trauma is not just psychological, it lives in the body. And where does it hide the most? In the hips. Unprocessed emotional memories, unconscious tensions, shame, and repression remain stored there like unreleased codes. Today, practices such as somatic experiencing and neuroception affirm exactly what ancient traditions already knew. The body is the first oracle, and when you reconnect with the base, the point where breath meets the ground of your structure, you are not just relaxing, you are awakening an energetic architecture that shapes your cognition, your emotions, and the vibrational field you emit. It is neuroscience, it is biology, it is spirituality in motion. Before any technique, you must understand a truth the modern world taught you to ignore. The body is an antenna, and that antenna doesn't work without grounding. Every manifestation, every expansion of consciousness, every quantum leap begins when that antenna is reconnected to its deepest vibrational source, the living earth that pulses through your base. The first step doesn't require effort, it requires listening. Listening to what you've learned to silence, the ground of your existence. And the most powerful point for that listening isn't in the mind, but in the region between the perineum and the lower abdomen. There lies your vibrational center of gravity. And when you begin to breathe from that place, something changes. Anxiety loses its grip. Thought slows down. Presence starts to take shape. Step 1. Returning to the gravitational center. Lie down or sit with your spine upright, feet firmly on the ground or your base supported. Place your hands gently over your lower belly. Begin to inhale as if the air were being drawn from the ground. moving up through the base of your body and slowly inflating the space below your navel. Hold for 2 seconds, then exhale as if you're opening a valve in your hips. Repeat for 3 minutes. It's simple, but this is what begins to unlock the channel. You're not just breathing, you're activating the vibrational axis of energetic support. You're sending a signal. I'm here. I inhabit my body. I'm ready to reconnect. That gesture, subtle as it may seem, shifts your frequency. And when your frequency shifts, the field around you begins to respond. You might feel warmth, tingling, or even unexpected emotions. Don't fight it. It's your body initiating the release process. This first movement isn't physical, it's symbolic. It's the moment when you stop fleeing from your base and turn your own structure into a portal. Rigidity softens, the axis awakens, and the vibration finally changes direction. Once the gravitational center is reactivated, something begins to move, subtly, almost imperceptibly, but truly. The base of the body, once rigid or numb, begins to pulse. And this pulsing is not muscular, it's vibrational. It signals that the body is beginning to remember what the mind forgot. Your magnetic field isn't born in the mind, it is forged at the base. Now, it's time to create space for movement. Not outer movement, but the kind that emerges from within, from the pelvic core. This is the point where instinct meets consciousness, where the body stops being an object and becomes an oracle. Step 2. Unlocking the pelvic pulse. Standing or sitting on a firm base, bring your attention to the sacral bone. Begin making micro-movements with your pelvis. Subtle shifts forward and back, as if gently waking the area without creating tension. The goal isn't performance, it's sensory reactivation. As you move, breathe continuously, without rushing, letting your body find its natural rhythm. If possible, do it barefoot, in contact with the ground. The deeper your intimacy with the living earth, the more the code reveals itself. This micro-movement acts as a vibrational key. It releases unconscious tension stored in the pelvic muscles and sends a new signal to your nervous system. We are safe, we can feel, we can descend. That safety is the foundation for everything that follows. Without it, manifestation becomes effort. With it, it becomes flow. This is the moment when the spirit of the living earth begins to rise. You don't need to visualize it. It knows the way. You just need to create enough space for it to pass through. And that's exactly what the pelvic pulse offers. Openness, receptivity, living vibration. It is the final gesture before the body becomes a passage. With the base activated and the center unlocked, the body enters a new state. It becomes a channel. And when that happens, it's not just energy that begins to rise, it's vibrational intelligence. You begin to access a form of knowing that doesn't come from thought, but from presence. A silent knowing that doesn't need to be explained because it's felt. This is where breath stops being a technique and becomes a portal. Step 3. Rising of the telluric breath. Sit or lie down with your eyes closed. Visualize not with the eyes of the mind, but with the perception of the body, a deep point at the center of the earth. Inhale as if the air were coming from that point, passing through the soil, rising through your feet, moving through your pelvis, and reaching the center of your chest. Hold your breath for a moment, like someone listening to something sacred. Then exhale slowly through your nose, feeling the energy descend again, anchoring in your belly. Repeat this cycle for a few minutes. This exercise is not passive meditation. It's an alignment between your inner field and the pulse of the living earth. You begin to vibrate at the frequency of grounding, and that vibration has practical consequences. More focus, more intuition, more emotional stability. Step 4. Receptive silence. After the telluric breath, sit in total stillness. No expectation, no control, just be. It is in this silence that the deepest codes are revealed. You might sense images, emotions, or simply a subtle vibration moving through your body. All of it is a sign that the portal has opened. This is where doing ends and being begins. You are no longer seeking the sacred, you've become the place where it happens. On the outside, nothing was loud. Kalon didn't seem lost, or confused, or in crisis. But there was a blind spot within him, a space without sound, without shape, without access. It wasn't the mind, it was the body. More precisely, a dormant center between the belly and the ground beneath. No matter how much he studied, practiced, visualized, the base remained silent, as if an essential frequency had been turned off years ago. But no one noticed, not even him. Until one night, when everything felt ordinary, he lay down in the dark and simply breathed. No purpose, no technique. He just surrendered. And it was the body that answered. The air came from below, from the soil, from the base, from the place he had forgotten to inhabit. His hips moved on their own, a motion so subtle it was almost imperceptible, but it was real, like an animal waking slowly. It wasn't meant to be special, but it was, because it didn't come from the head. It came from the most primal point of his being. Warmth came, a full silence, and a kind of memory that didn't come from recollection, but from sensation, as if the body was saying, "Here I was, waiting for you to return." Since then, Kalon no longer seeks answers outside. He sits, he breathes from the base, and he remembers. The living earth never abandoned us. We were the ones who forgot where it speaks through. For many, the greatest challenge won't be the technique. It will be the absence of sensation. They'll try to breathe from the base and feel nothing. No warmth, no movement, no clear sign that anything is happening. And soon the thought will arise. Does this even work for me? That is the first trap. The expectation to feel something quickly, intensely, mystically, as if the body had to prove something. But the body doesn't respond to demands. It opens in the frequency of listening, not pressure. And especially when the base has been dormant for years, the initial silence is part of the process. Not feeling is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you are on the threshold, the exact place where the mind loses control and the body begins to remember. But remembering takes repetition, ritual, presence, simplicity. The key to transformation lies in trading immediacy for a light daily ritual. You don't need 40 minutes. You need 5 minutes with a present body, sitting barefoot, breathing as if saying to your field, "I'm here, I'm grounding, I'm open." Vibration responds to that kind of consistency, not to perfection. And this is exactly what creates a stable magnetic field, the gentle repetition of a sincere gesture. Remember, the spirit of the living earth does not impose itself, it waits. And when you stay, even without feeling anything, that's when it begins to rise. Some changes make no noise. They don't announce their arrival. They simply happen through vibration. And it is in this more subtle plane, where there is no rush and no promise, that the body begins to open, not outward, but downward, inward, toward what is real. Everything you need already lives within you, but it was locked behind layers of tension, self-control, and forgetfulness. The base didn't fail. It was simply waiting for your listening. And listening to the base is more than feeling, it is inhabiting. The pelvis is more than a structure, It is a point of energetic conversion between instinct and spirit. It's where rising energy finds direction, and where manifestation anchors in the body. Without it, everything floats. With it, everything vibrates with purpose. What's been revealed here is not a technique, it's a reminder. A return to the origin point, not as an escape from the world, but as a reconnection with what sustains everything. Presence, breath, root. As Clarissa Pinkola Estes wrote, "The body is the house of the spirit. Keep it clean, bright, and loved, so the spirit will want to stay." The spirit of the living earth was never absent, but it only responds to those who descend with humility into the place most people avoid. And when that happens, when the body is re-inhabited, vibration shifts, and with it, the world. You don't need to rise. You need to make space for the living earth to rise through you. If this content activated something within you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. This simple action helps this knowledge reach those who need to remember their sacred foundation. I want to know, how does your pelvis respond when you quiet the mind? Write in the comments, "I make space for the living earth to rise through me." This phrase seals your commitment to the reunion of body and spirit. Share this video with someone who needs to get out of their mind and return to their root. Click the screen to watch another transformative video. Each integrated practice strengthens the vibrational field that sustains your reality. When you descend with courage, the living earth rises with purpose.